What does it take to help someone else grow? What can you do right now where you are to help somebody else in their healing journey? Now, you may want to look at me and say, Sue, that's absolutely crazy because I'm trying to figure out how to heal myself. I don't have anything to give. Is that something just went through your mind? I'm here to say today that you only have to be a step ahead to help the person behind you. This is Sue with My Step Ahead. And that is our message, no matter what we do, be it through speaking or life coaching, YouTubing, blogging, whatever it is that I'm up to. The message is always in one way or another. You only have to be a step ahead to help the person behind you. The question I asked you at the start, what's it take to help somebody else, was a question my pastor shared with us probably going on 10 years ago now. And he was talking about growth. And he used a whole illustration. And that really sparked my heart. It sparked my interest. It sparked some things in me to where now I lead my step ahead. And I want to share with you the first 4 steps to any healing journey. In this video, I want to share with you a little bit of my story, a little bit of my brokenness, and a little bit of how these 4 steps played out. Because I am convinced when I speak, when I talk with my coaching clients, when I get emails, read different things, interact with people, I'm convinced that any healing journey starts with these 4 steps. The first one is humility. As Christians, as believers, we are always hopefully striving for humility. The word is full of verses about humility, about considering others better than yourselves, not only looking after your own interests, but also it's the interest of others. That whole principle is one of humility. The thing is, humility also means willing to set aside your pride, your ego, your fears, your stress, your worries, your anxiety of what other people are going to think so that you can take care of yourself. Humility means you're willing to do whatever it takes, whatever is needed to get where you want to go. So for me, it looked like this. It was back in 2005. A friend of mine passed away. And in 2008, I was grieving her as if it was yesterday. If you've seen any of the other videos on my YouTube channel, if you've heard me speak, you know that I'm in recovery from an eating disorder. So 3 years after my friend passed away, and I was grieving her as if it was yesterday, my eating disorder red flags started coming up. And for me, one of them was when my brain just shuts down, when it can't make a food decision. So I'll open up the refrigerator door, get overwhelmed with food choices, shut the door, and start snacking. That was starting to come up. So I reached out to my pastor who knew that I was in recovery, that I had an eating disorder history. He connected me with a woman named Amanda, and she is now with Grace Recovery Counseling out of South Carolina. At the time, she was here in Ohio, where I am. And I probably talked to her probably 3 or 4 times on the phone before I even made the first appointment. And I felt safe enough and I felt desperate enough to make the appointment. Now, I wasn't letting on to my family what was going on because I was still struggling with that fear. What are they going to think? I don't want to deal with it. How am I going to cover this up? And a lot of that as well was eating disorder tendencies and behaviors of living in secrecy. So when I first met with Amanda, when we finally had our first meeting, I looked at her quickly into the first session. I said, if we're going to do this, we're not stopping till I'm done. And a mantra, a phrase, a stake in the ground for me that everything else pivoted around was this statement: a manageable level of tolerable existence is no longer an option. A manageable level of tolerable existence is no longer an option. I was finally to the point, I didn't care what it took. I was going to set aside my fear, set aside my pride, set aside all of the anxiety of having to let somebody else in, of being found out, because I was living in fear of being found out. Those fears, those thoughts of someone else's opinion of me were keeping me trapped. And I finally got to the point where, like, I can't live like this anymore. Something has got to break, or I am not going to make it. I finally got to the place where my humility allowed me to pick up the phone. Hopefully, someone doesn't have to get that desperate, but sometimes that's what it takes. And if that's what it takes, that's okay, as long as you get to the point of letting somebody else in. That is the first point of humility, is that we have to let somebody else in. We have to be willing to say, I can't shoulder this on my own anymore. I just can't do it. And I'm desperate enough to ask for help, because something's got to change or I'm not going to make it. So the first step of any healing journey is humility. That alone is huge. Each step builds on the previous one. The next step is owning your story. For me, that was gut wrenching. I hated my story. I was in denial about my story. Just a snippet of my story. If you haven't heard me speak somewhere, I'm a childhood rape survivor. I was raped by a classmate when I was 7 years old, and I didn't tell anyone until my senior year of college. It was a 15-year secret. Even then, I still didn't even start dealing with it until 2014, and I'll get to that part in a little bit. In addition to that, I grew up in a dysfunctional home. My mom and dad divorced after 34 years of marriage. I'm in recovery from an eating disorder, but I developed an eating disorder in high school, and it really took root in college. I've struggled with depression. I've fought anxiety. I've dabbled in cutting. Twice I've considered ending my own life. Not a poster child of what people think a Christian's supposed to look like, but that was my real life. And having to own that really took a lot. It took being around people who accepted me for who I was, not what I looked like, not what I would do, not what I could give them. But they started showing me that I was lovable, because that was one of the questions I had is, am I really lovable? In 2014, there was a movie that came out called Ragamuffin, and it was based on the life of the late Christian musician Rich Mullins. And behind me is a quote from Rich. It says, it's not going to matter if you have a few scars. It will matter if you didn't live. That is powerful, because scars are stories. Scars are wounds that have healed to become a story. And that phrase, that whole statement by him, is a journey in and of itself. So this movie came out, and in 2014, later that year, the friends and family of Rich and the movie producer decided to do a retreat to follow up on the themes of the movie. And one of them was maskless living, of taking off our masks. Now that really spoke to me, because I was living behind a mask. So I went to the retreat, and through a series of events, I came face to face with my story. And I really had to give myself permission to just cry. I had a time in my life when I was 16 where I wouldn't let myself cry a tear for 2 years. So humility is the first step. The second step to any healing journey is owning your story. And that means, yes, having to come face to face with the hard truth, but not doing it alone. Because being alone got you where you are. Being alone got you isolated, got you living in fear, got you ineffective for the gospel. Yes, there's a lot that goes to that, because it means you're letting somebody else into your life. And that alone has a lot of fears. And all the fears that are keeping you from owning your story are the same fears that are keeping you from having humility to let somebody in. So when you're able to even just get past that much and just crack the door of humility, things start happening. Because when you have somebody else in your life, they get to know you, and then suddenly things start coming out, and you have opportunity to experience love the way it's meant to be. So you have humility, you have owning your story. The third step is equally difficult. It's grieving your story. Every story has loss, and every loss is worthy of being grieved. And we may try to slide it off and, oh, I'm good. Don't worry about it. I'm all right. It doesn't matter. I'm okay. It didn't bother me. But you know, deep down, you're lying to yourself. You're lying to others, and you're trying to lie to yourself. But you can't lie to yourself. You can run, but you can't hide. I tried it for I don't know how many decades. Let me save you the anguish. It doesn't work. Grieving your story means you have to come face to face with it and allow yourself to feel the emotions that you have tried to stuff. All of us, for some reason or another, we think fake it till you make it is a ticket to Easy Street. Fake it till you make it is wearing a mask. Fake it till you make it is lying to yourself, is lying to others, and it's not being genuine and authentic. And it's not a true reflection of who Christ is in you. Christ in you, the hope of glory. When we fake it till we make it, we're dampening that light, that hope, because then it becomes about us. It doesn't become about his glory. Doesn't mean it's easy. The second year at retreat, I had to grieve my story. And again, through a series of events and teachings and conversations, God was working on my heart. And I finally broke down Saturday night, and I probably had about 10 minutes of just guttural crying, to the point that I later found out somebody from the retreat came over, put his arm around me, and just prayed, God, whatever it is, put it on me and take it off her. I had not let myself feel. Emotions are not the friends of eating disorders. So I had not let myself really feel because of all those fears. And I had to let myself feel all that hurt and pain and rejection and just everything, inadequacy, shame, everything that I had tried to stuff. I had to let myself feel it. You may have heard the phrase, feel it to heal it. There is a lot of truth to that, because when you're stuffing emotions, that becomes your focal point. That becomes the energy around which everything else revolves of, I don't want to be found out. What are people going to think? I went into that retreat and my greatest fear was realized and my greatest fear was smashed. My greatest fear was I would cry and not stop. I cried and I stopped. And that ushered in freedom and peace. Ezekiel talks about how I will give you a new heart, a heart of flesh and not of stone. And when I was able to let go of those emotions, that heart of flesh started to develop and started to grow. So you have humility as your first step feeling for the healing journey. Second one is owning your story. The third one is grieving your story. And the fourth one is where it gets challenging, but it starts getting fun. It's daring to believe that you matter. The third year at retreat, I walked away with the nugget. I am valuable to God. All of my experiences had told me otherwise. All of my experiences had told me I was worthless, that I had no value, that what I thought or felt didn't matter, and I wasn't to be heard. I had nothing of value to say, kind of like shut up and put up. That is what the message that I heard through a variety of different sources, good or bad, right or wrong. But that's what I understood to be truth until these dominoes of the healing journey started. So daring to believe you matter is a springboard. And life gets to be real exciting when you start living in the dare mode. Does it happen overnight? No. But daring to believe you matter allows that my step ahead mentality to start to develop. What do I mean by my step ahead? It means you only have to be a step ahead to help the person behind you. You have meaningful life experience. Every experience in life has meaning. Therefore, you have something to offer right now to somebody who is a step or two behind you. Maybe they are just starting a path that you just walked. Maybe you started your own business. Maybe you raised your family. Maybe you've got 3 kids and they're starting with their first. Maybe you've reconciled with somebody. No matter what the situation is, you have life experience and you have things you can share with someone else who is just experiencing those things now. In the same way, you're still reaching out for help because you have things to learn and you have someone ahead of you that you are learning from. So for me, what this looks like is I'm reaching out to Amanda, my counselor. I am still with her because life happens. I am not ashamed of that. We joke about it, we celebrate that. But she is a vital part of what I do. She is a vital part of my life. She's a vital part of what I do as a life coach and as a speaker. She is a vital part of my self-care. So I'm reaching out to her for help and support while I'm reaching back to help others who are on their healing journey. I'm a master certified life coach and mental health coach. I'm reaching back to my clients who may need help and support in their struggles and their journey while I'm still reaching out to my counselor to help me with things that I'm working through. Together, we have a human chain of support. That is what my step ahead means. It means I'm reaching out while I'm reaching back. That's the power of my step ahead. What that means is that with that understanding, that experience, I can start to believe that I can make a difference. I have things to offer. And suddenly, that fear of what's someone going to think about me tends to take a little bit of a back seat. It tends to diminish because I'm daring to believe that I matter. I'm daring to believe that I have something to offer. I'm daring to believe that I can make a difference in someone else's life. That shame that has kept you trapped takes a back seat because you know better. You know shame is a lie. Brene Brown says that shame and guilt are 2 different things. Guilt is something I did. Shame is who I am. Shame is a liar because who you are is a child of God. Who you are is someone that God is absolutely head over heels in love with. Guilt, conviction, yes. Things to change, things to repent of, things to improve upon, yes. But not trapped and held in shackles of shame. So all of these things, when you dare to believe, you're daring. Daring means you're asking, you're challenging someone to go out of their comfort zone, that you are seeing something in them before they may see it in themselves. I have people in my life who see things in me before I see it. My friend Kathy Sprinkle reached out to me in 2020, encouraged me to look into being a life coach. I did 3 months of research because I really had a bad attitude about life coaching. Now I've spent the time and the training to have my ICF certification as an ACC certified master life and mental health coach because I know the power that it holds. I know how it can help others. I know that I am equipped and I am trained and I am qualified to help others. I'm reaching out for help while I'm reaching back to help others. That is the power of my step ahead. So where are you on your healing journey? Which of those steps identifies where you are now? and maybe where your next step is. I'd love to hear in the comments. What are you thinking about this? Where are you with these things? In the notes, I'm going to list some reflection questions. I have a whole handout, a PDF that I'm happy to send you. Just comment that send me the PDF, and I will get the PDF to you that goes into these 4 steps more in more detail. But I've got some reflection questions as well for each of these 4 steps to at least start greasing the gears about this. I'm Sue with My Step Ahead. I will be bringing more content like this because being a Christian and struggling with mental health do not need to be in 2 different fields. I am here, we are here to build a bridge between Christianity and mental health, knowing that Christ is at the center. Thanks.